is actually being an educational institution. And if you look at, for instance, here, Karuna, Bhavan, the temple is a very minor part of what's going on here. You've got, I don't know how many buildings you've got, many, 20 buildings. You've got how many acres? 8, 9 acres, and so many other things going with different activities. The temple is only one part of that. So it's called Karuna Bhavan Temple. But what is it? What is its function, and what does it do for devotees? For instance, in Hungary, we try to sort of remold the concept of not, just like there we have a farm, where we have, I don't know, 60 buildings, and we have hundreds of acres, and so many other things, and the goshala, and the school, and all those other activities. To call it a temple, temple is just 1% of what's going on over there. So what is it? What is actually its identity? For us, it's a place to live, and a place to actually educate people in Krishna consciousness, which is not just bringing people to Krishna consciousness, but keeping devotees in Krishna consciousness. It's really actually an educational institution, because Krishna consciousness is education. It's about teaching us how to go through life, how not just to learn a few verses of Bhagavad Gita, but how to live the Bhagavad Gita, how to apply it in our lives to all the different reverses and all the good things that are happening to us, and to go back home, back to Godhead. It's not something that, once again, you do alone. It's something that requires communal effort. So sadhusanga, sadhu city boy. If you want to advance in spiritual life, you have to have sadhusanga. Sadhusanga means devotees communally come together and they associate. And what do they do when they associate? Well, we worship the Lord, we celebrate the Lord's festival, and we help ourselves to actually remember who Krishna is, to go deeper into Krishna consciousness, to advance in our Krishna consciousness, to deal with the issues in life that invariably come up. The real, at least one of the functions of the community is to set itself up around a center, an educational center that gives facility for the members to achieve Krishna consciousness. And it may be according to different speed, according to different pace, but that Krishna consciousness entails, as mentioned, chanting Hare Krishna, rendering service, having the opportunity to render service, and then getting the type of training that actually qualifies one for perfection and going back to Godhead. Since God, I think we just go off in all different directions and we're already talking for 25 minutes. Maybe, as I mentioned, you all can give us some points or some questions into what would make things a little more relevant to what's going on here.
You mentioned that when you have a large community, then the temple itself is only a small percentage of that whole community. You gave the example of New Vrajadam, that you have so many things going on there and the temple is just one small part of it. But still, I've experienced when I've visited there that Radha Shama Sundar are very much the centre of that not only the farm but the whole Hungarian yatra. That they're very much in the minds and the consciousness of the devotees. So what can the devotees here, particularly those devotees who are actively involved in preaching and trying to establish the community, what can we do to make Kodinitai Mayapushashi, bring them more into the centre of the lives and the consciousness of the devotees who are part of the whole Scottish yatra?
Well, Rajan Sundar there, or Krishna and his gone there, we're meant to be Krishna conscious. So in Hungary, Krishna comes in that form. In Scotland, it comes here in this form. So for Krishna conscious, then we don't become more conscious of them. And around them. So you're Krishna conscious, as your life is dedicated to serving and pleasing Krishna. So here's Krishna Balaram. And you're doing that. It's not that you're not doing it, but because you're distributing books, you're preaching, you're bringing people, you're glorifying them here. But that type of sort of organized and conscious effort to not just specifically talk about Krishna, because we tend to talk about Krishna, but to talk about Krishna in the form that they're actually come and actually present. And just going back to that point of the temple, because not only is a temple, just for instance, not only is this temple just physically a small part of this project, it's also only used for a small part of the day. It's used at certain times of the day, and then that's it. So if rather than, and in our present world, people are very much inclined to learn, to study, they want to know things, they want to be educated, they want to receive diplomas and things, 90-year-old ladies go to university. But temples and places of worship are ready for believers. But there's a gap between someone who's a believer and someone who doesn't yet know about Krishna consciousness. And it takes a lot to actually fill that gap. So we see that even though we have our temple here, but it takes a little part of the project, it's only full some parts, or it's only not full, it's only occupied some parts of the day, and even when it's occupied, it's not necessarily full, because there's only so many believers. So the idea is how to actually really take advantage of all of these facilities in order to bring more people here, to bring them in touch with what Krishna consciousness actually has to give, in a way that you don't have to start out by being a believer. Come to our temple. But that you can come to our farm, you can come to our gardening, you can come to our community, you can come here and learn. And here we have actually something to offer to educate those who don't know anyone. And then when they become a believer, then the temple is a place where you do one of two things. You continue learning, or then you worship. But even worship for us is a very restricted part of our day. It's a very limited part of our day. So we may be worshiping, that's fine, but we need, in addition to worship, to actually learn about Krishna consciousness. And therefore this temple could just as easily be a classroom. And it is, because that's what Bhagavatam classes and Bhagavad classes. Anyway, but in terms of having the deities, that it's a conscious effort. Everyone has pictures of the deities. When we talk about Krishna, then they talk about Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. When we try to, we render service. The devotees actually render service. It's not an easy thing. I've tried that for many years. If all Brahmins had to come and do service. Now it's actually finally sort of taken hold after 15 years. That all Brahmins in the yatra come for 2 weeks a year, and they just come and do service there. So they develop a personal relationship, because the devotees know that it's a different thing to be on this side of the altar and on that side of the altar. Offering arti, which is cooking,